It'll tell us. Hello, Studio 108 Seekers and Sages. I'm excited to sit down on this Friday afternoon. It's like our little happy hour visits and to chat with a couple of the really new and dynamic and impactful people at the City of Independence. So we've got Jessica Hyser and Ryan Wancata, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, and like I know the Jessica and the Ryan part, it was the rest that had the potential to really stumble me. So thanks for being patient. But these guys are with the Department of Economic Sustainability, and they'll tell you the exact titles. And I'm going to zip it and let you get started.
Sure. My name is Jessica Hyser. I'm the Economic Development Director for the City of Independence, a role that I started last June and have been now obviously a little bit more than a year. And Ryan Wancata works under me as the Economic Development Coordinator. Thank you.
It's a mouthful, yeah.
So I think what we can agree on right now, Jessica, is that we really don't know what Ryan does.
Correct. Okay.
Sure, we're all over the place.
We're all over the place, and I think that's probably what you like about your position.
Oh yeah, of course. I love it. I won't hear any complaints from me. I have a good boss. The people I work around are awesome, so things are good. I can't complain.
Yeah, and you both are native to Independence.
Yeah.
Both are, yes.
Very good. Graduates of the public schools. And
Yeah.
And we can tie our shoes, so that's a good thing.
you spell relatively well, and you went hiking on the trails as a kid and rode your bikes on the sidewalks and invested in what happens here for the community.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I love that. I love that. Well, Ryan had stopped by to see the studio a couple weeks ago, and he was telling me about a couple projects. First of all, tell me about how you got your position, because I think that that's really inspiring. It's good to know stories.
So I can start all the way back my senior year of college. So pretty much a year ago, my one minor that I have now is in sustainability. And one class I took to earn that associates was sustainability. It was the final thesis class. And when I took it, I realized, this is my passion. I really enjoy sustainability. And, I thought, okay, let me, pitch this out to the city and see what happens with it. I thought it was beneficial for the city and, just roll with it. And
so you were thinking they don't have anybody working on sustainability and independence. Wouldn't it be cool if they did?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, exactly. And then, here we are now. It's great that the way that the City of Independence is handling it with Jess and myself, we have sustainability for the businesses here in town where we're trying to retain business, post-COVID and things of that nature. And then we have the other side of it with the environmental side and community health of it. So it's kind of twofold and it works great.
Excellent. Now, Jess, you're new to the city too, but your position in terms of economic development had been established?
Yes, there was an economic development director prior to me who left to take another opportunity. So it provided the opportunity for me to come and work for my hometown. So I've been doing this position for another community. I worked for the city of Green for almost 12 years. And this was an opportunity for me to give back to my own community and help shape what it looks like in the future, which I think is really exciting. So I live here, I grew up here. It's I think a win-win for everyone.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that story. It's so relatable to me personally, because I taught and grew my teaching career in that Fairlawn, Green, Akron area. And about the same time, about when COVID hit, about a year ago, decided I wanted to serve closer to home and to do something, really for my own community, to lift my own community. So it's nice that you and I don't have to make that drive.
That drive. That was always, people never understood it, but at least it was always against the flow of traffic. So
against the flow of traffic. And I called 77, like, that's my driveway, no problem. Like, boom, I just, like Palladian starship straight down 77. So yeah, I won't see one that anymore, but here we are. So I love that story. It's really relatable to me.
Thanks.
Awesome. So Ryan, what are some of the projects going on for you?
So right now, speaking of economic development, what I'm focused on right now is reaching out to the businesses like I did with you to make sure everything's going right, try to accommodate you accordingly with what we can provide with resources and so on. So That right now is a project I'm working on. It's pretty extensive with the, vast amount of businesses.
I was
that we
gonna
have
say,
in
a lot of
town.
businesses.
So that's, one major project I'm working on. But then for the environmental side of it, we just finished up our great organic park transition. And so what originally happened was Tom Molchanowitz, our recreation department director, and we sat down, we met, we figured out what we could do to try to get these synthetic fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides out of our lawns, in our parks and so on. And we came up with a pretty good transition strategy. And now, as of August 1st, we're fully organic. We don't use, the roundups of the world. We don't use anything synthetic. So everything's organic, it's kid and pet friendly. And we figured this would be a good first initiative into sustainability for the city.
And that's happening on all the public areas up here.
Yes, it
And
is.
the
It's in the
campus?
park, just the park right now.
Just the park right now.
We're working with the service department to try to, bring that for the
Expand.
whole city. Yep.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, you feel pretty proud about that.
Oh yeah, like I said, I think it's a huge milestone and a
Mhm.
good first one to get the ball moving a little bit on the environmental side of things, because it's important. I mean, that's the environment we live in, especially our kids when they have, their t-ball games, their flag football games in the fall, things like that. Everyone's, on these lawns and
Pets.
yeah,
Mhm.
exactly, our pets.
Mhm.
It's important.
And 100% it's important.
Yeah.
And I know you had an initiative around the composting.
Sure, yeah, so that's what we're exploring right now to see what we can do with composting. And we're trying to reduce our single-use waste. We're trying to, explore ways to do that. It's more challenging, it's a larger project. So that's more down the road, but we're exploring that right now to see, what we can do. There's certain things with composting where if you get certain types of products that can compost, that's great. That reduces the waste, but it has to be sent to a commercial composting facility. So there's a lot of challenges and moving variables to that all need to come together at once to accomplish that.
Yeah.
So it's a bigger project. So
Yeah.
we're working on that right now,
Yeah.
but it's
Much
down
bigger
the
project.
road.
I know, like,
Exactly.
even thinking at home, I'm gonna compost. And then having my little, go to Amazon and buy my compost bucket.
Sure.
And then put my food scraps in and then go out in the woods and dump them out and get poison ivy. And the deer are eating them and then, the coyotes run through the woods. And it's just like, oh, it's a lot. It's a
Yeah.
lot to take on these things, even on a small scale.
Yeah.
So I think 2 months is really admirable for the change in the fertilizers. And if compost takes a little bit longer, just stick
sure.
with it, right?
Exactly. And, a big shout out to Tom Molchanowitz, because without him, he was very open to the idea, and, without him, it would have taken a
100%.
lot longer.
Yeah.
So
And even the mayor for prioritizing
sure,
the initiative and
Sure.
bringing you on board for that.
definitely. Yeah.
Awesome. So when you come to, well, maybe Jessica can take this one, like when Ryan comes in, and I know you had scheduled to come that day and had a sick little kiddo, so when you guys come to a small business like this, and we don't necessarily have a lot of waste, just the paper towels really in the bathroom, just by virtue of the nature of this business, but like when you come to a small business, what are some things that small business owners can do to be more sustainable and more conscientious?
Yeah, there's lots of interesting programs out there. So it's not just partnering up with the City of Independence, but other organizations in the region that are really taking sustainability to the next level. So for example, the Greater Cleveland Partnership has an energy sector leader, and she will help work with companies that are in the first energy territory to look at their electric usage and how that can be reduced and enhanced, perhaps by using LED lights or finding other low-cost alternatives. So it's not necessarily the City of Independence always providing those resources, but connecting you to regional resources that are out there. Building owners are able to do building upgrades through financing programs. There's a financing program that's relatively new called PACE that allows you to do energy efficient upgrades, roof, windows, HVAC, and that is put onto your property tax bill and paid over time versus making those capital investments up front through traditional lending methods.
Yeah, very good, very good. I know when I put in the radiant heaters, the engineer that came to write the plans for the build out was like, oh, these heaters are gonna cost you like, X amount a month. And I was like, that would actually be pretty inexpensive compared to what I expect. But the truth is that the radiant heaters are really much more energy efficient than using blown heat. So you know, it's interesting to like start to look at that and to think, how can I be efficient? Not just because we want a really good sweat in yoga, but
Sure.
because we don't want to be irresponsible and careless about the resources we're using.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
yeah,
Absolutely.
and we did switch the lights to LED too, because they were pretty old. So I'm just ticking the boxes in my head. So anything that goes on the to-do list, I'm here right now to write it down.
Yes,
Yes. Yes, because you know, my mind went, well, we'll just use some barely any paper towels, but there's a lot that can be done actually.
Sure.
There are a lot of things, you know, there's, you know, simple things like turning off the lights.
Yeah.
We're notorious in our office, but you know, leaving lights on. And there's often ways that you can install sensors that will detect whether or not there's movement in a room and automatically shut off those lights that aren't being used.
Yeah, for sure. Super easy to add those things in.
And you know, even simple things like Ryan's talking about the single-use plastics.
Yeah.
Every office has those styrofoam cups. Well,
Oh,
let's rid the
Yeah.
styrofoam cups and provide ceramic mugs so those can be reused and dishwashed.
Yeah,
So simple things.
really simple things.
Yeah, we're not looking for everyone to necessarily be a tree hugger, but
Yeah.
make small minor changes.
Tree.
We can hug a tree
Clothes or like something.
Yeah.
Now I know our photo shoot afterwards.
That's
right.
right.
Get a tree hugger pose. For sure.
Yeah, I think it's really easy to overlook, you know, some of these things though, like you just said. I think it's go back to the basics of what you're doing and you can see where, okay, we can do X, Y, and Z better.
Right.
It's being approachable too.
Yeah.
It's not making drastic changes, little incredible changes over time add up to big changes.
For sure, and I know, like at home, I have certain ways of being. We had company a really birthday weekend, and they were like, "Just use paper plates, Tracy." And I'm like, "We just load these into the dishwasher. It's
Sure.
super not gonna be paper plates going on, not styrofoam. Like it just was unnecessary."
Yeah.
You know, but when you come to the office, you grab for those conveniences,
Yes, you do.
Mhm.
and that's sort of maybe not necessarily
Correct.
and bamboo, like bamboo straws or reusable silverware in your desk drawer, like all of those things are super easy to do.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
awesome.
We're good at that at City Hall.
You got it. You got everybody.
We're working on
Yeah,
it.
we're working
Office
on it.
There's some departments that are better than others. Let's just go with that.
Yeah.
City Hall is pretty good, but you start going elsewhere.
Yeah.
We got some work to do.
You gotta keep your eye on some of them.
Yeah, we got that right. Yeah, for
And
sure.
there's two of you. I love
Yeah,
that. Well,
exactly.
what comes next?
You know, one of the things that we were talking about before is the fact that this week we are launching Restaurant Week. So
Oh, yeah, Restaurant Week.
So September 10th and the 19th, we decided, you know, we obviously know the restaurant industry has been hard impacted by the COVID crisis, first last March, when the restaurants were shut down, and now because they're struggling to find workers, that we wanted to pay a little extra attention to that particular sector in our economy. So this week, September 10th to the 19th is Restaurant Week. We are encouraging the folks that, you know, who drive through our community to embrace it. Every $25 that you spend at one of the 14 participating restaurants, you'll get a card. You can fill out your name, a phone number, and email address, and you're entered into a drawing to win some prizes. So we've got a $100 gift card all the way down to some $10 gift cards to really encourage people to support those local businesses. And the reason why we're focusing on that is because these local businesses are the ones that are our community's fabric. They're the ones who make us who we are. Without them, we wouldn't be the community that we are. And
I
they're
noticed
often
your list had some of the big name restaurants and also like small business.
most of them are the small business
Yeah.
restaurants.
Yeah, it was a really nice list.
So, you know, it's not, you know, we made it open to everybody, but it's not the Longhorns.
Right,
It's the hibachi grills. It's
the
the
kitchen.
kitchen, the
Scratch.
scratch.
Yeah.
It's the local businesses that, you know, they're the first place you go to, you know, the baseball team goes to ask for something for a fundraiser, or the school does.
Yeah.
So we really need to make sure that we put our arms around them and embrace them. So we're asking people to hashtag their outings as Indie Eats and
this
share
is,
that.
what's the date on the week?
September 10th through the 19th.
Oh.
So it covers this weekend and next weekend.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've got some trainings next weekend and we'll be walking to lunch from here.
Awesome.
So if you practiced here and you look out the front windows, you know we are tempted by the Dairy King and Romitos
Yeah.
on the daily. Yeah.
Yes, Romito's is.
They get, oh, yes,
A
the
classic.
best. I know, right? And I live just a few miles right at the border of Independence and Brecksville. I'm actually in Brecksville, but Romito's was our delivery pizza. And I can remember traveling with the kids, like camping trips and such, and like timing it out in my mind. When do I need to make that call so that I would be home, like, say, 90 seconds before the pizza man?
Yes.
Right? Because they would deliver, and it was like the best pizza to come home to. So
Yes.
things like Romita's and the Dairy King, Scratch, The Kitchen, Babes. Like, I'm sure you can throw a couple more names on the table for me, but like these are the hometown favorites.
Yes, and the idea too is, there's the Hibachi Grill is participating in the Thai Gourmet. They may be restaurants that people have not tried before because they might be kind of afraid that they're not what they're typically accustomed to. So we want to also encourage people to explore something and try something they may not have thought about before.
100%, and it's all carry out friendly.
All carry out friendly, so it
All
doesn't
carry out.
matter, you could eat in the restaurant, you could do takeout, regardless, you could be entered into the drawing as long as you make that $25.
Outstanding. Well, you can see what excites me.
Right? Who isn't excited about
Yeah.
Right, so very simple, we can just kind of close it, because I've got, some carry out to order.
Sure.
Sure, all right, what else? We had something else on the list.
One of the other big initiatives that we're working on is, well, it's actually two initiatives. We're trying to do a citywide rebranding for our economic development efforts, as well as work on wayfinding. And so people kind of get a little concerned about wayfinding. But if you're not familiar with Rockside Road or some of the other avenues of our community, how do you get there? What's your experience? So when you get off of Rockside Road, how do you know to get to what building you're trying to go to? And we're trying to wrap that as a good experience so that people who may not be as familiar with our community as we are have a good experience when they get off I-77 or 480 and can get to their destination.
That's interesting. What are you looking at to make that easier for people?
So possibly, for example, for Rockside, when we made some street improvements, probably a little bit more than a decade ago, the idea of eliminating some of the left-hand turn movements meant that we put islands and barriers down the middle to eliminate those left-hand turn movements. So that made that there were a lot more internal road networks, which works out well, but if you know where you're going. And
100%.
an office building, it looks like an office building.
Right.
So if you're not familiar with the community, it can be very confusing.
And it's very frustrating. I know when the traffic is bad down on Rockside Road, to be sitting there sweating it out in traffic, late for something,
and you're not sure if you should
see
be
your building.
Well, you're not
How
trying to
do
be
you
in the
get
right
there?
lane, trying to be in the left lane, am I in the middle lane?
Yeah, what's the
all of
back
those.
access alley that's going to get me to the building I'm looking at? But
Yes, did I not turn at the right point? For example, if you drive down Rockside and you're trying to go to Indiana Wesleyan, you see the name on the building, but you had to turn well before that to get to that address. So there's a company out of Shaker Heights called Guide Studio that we've partnered with. And that's what they do, is help communities have a great experience for people when they come into those communities.
Cool.
It's not just about putting out signage. So one of the things that we're looking to do is perhaps divide our community into corridors so that you can tell people I'm in the blue district, and it'll be easier for you to get people to that area based on some sort of color coordinating.
Gotcha.
We're still in the working out phase of that.
Yeah, but they've got some ideas.
We got some ideas, and we'll be very tasteful and respectful of our heritage as well.
Yeah, very cool. It's handy down there, and there's a lot.
There is a lot.
But I like it up here.
We want to have a
a
sense of place, to know that you've arrived in Independence and you want to have a good experience.
And I'm just, once again, back to Romeo's, I can just say right across the street from
You
Romeo's.
can.
So
You know
my
where you
wayfinding
are.
is very easy. So if you're out there listening and you need your yoga, deep breath, no worries. Right across from Romeo's Pizza.
And when you're done, you can go get pizza and ice cream.
100%. So yeah, great initiative though, really good.
We're trying to make people, we don't know what the world's going to be like post-COVID. COVID has gone on a lot longer than I think anyone ever thought, at least from my perspective. So we want to make sure that people, when they do come to our community, they want to work here, they want to be here, and we make it as easy as possible for them to be
100%.
here.
Are you finding that a lot of the work from home initiatives have affected what's going on down on
We
Rockside?
have not seen that quite yet, but it's going to take a little while. I think it's changing people's work habits. I know from conversations that we've had with people, businesses in the community. A lot of them are still doing the remote work. Some of them have been bringing their employees in on an interim basis, but things looked really good in June. And then it's now the beginning of September and it's not looking as good. So it's really hard to tell and it's really hard to predict. And we were down, we were looking good. And
well, it's going to be a reflection, I'm sure, of everything else going on. And I know on a personal level, like when I'm interacting with students and friends and colleagues and teachers and training and such, so many people had changed jobs, reconsidered kind of what their passions are and what they want to do in life. And then when you drive, when you drive down Pleasant Valley in particular, it's really obvious to see the turnover, like the new signs up and the companies that have left and the new companies that are in. So it's hopeful and promising that there isn't a lot of empty space. There are new people coming into those places.
Manufacturing and industrial space has been that shortage for a number of years. And the way and especially on Pleasant Valley, you look at that, it's a factor also of the way we shop anymore. People aren't going to Macy's, they're buying stuff online and doing a lot of shipping. And so there's a lot more shipping going on because of just the changing nature of how we get goods.
Yeah, a lot to consider.
Absolutely.
Well, Jessica, thank you for being on top of that.
Trying.
I'm gonna go back to like basically breathe in, breathe out for me. That's sort of my thing. But yeah, interesting. One of the things that felt good to me about setting up here in Independence was the welcome from the landlords and the city, the building department, not just the other businesses around here, like on a person-to-person level. It's been really very welcoming.
That's our goal, is that we want to make sure the businesses that come here stay here and continue to grow. That's the reason why Ryan came on board, is so that we had more hands on deck to do that. That there is some sort of personal interaction between the city of Independence and those businesses. And with 800 businesses, one person can't go door to door, knock on all those businesses themselves, which is why we've got Ryan. And it makes it a lot more personable for you. And now you know that you can call Ryan, you can call me.
I know.
Get face to
somebody. 100%. And Ryan loves rocks, and I have all these rocks. So he just might come by and visit the rocks.
He might come by.
Yeah, he just might stop by and say, "Need a little selenite today."
Sure.
What happened to that fluorite you had? It was in the window and now it's gone.
You've got rocks on your desk.
I
So
do.
that's
What do you have on your desk?
Pyrite on my desk.
Excellent.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Excellent.
Fool's gold.
Yeah, I'm trying to think too if I have any hematite. I don't know that I have any hematite magnets here. I'm gonna have to bring them from home and hold them for you, Ryan.
All
Because
right.
I'm gonna tell you with
Appreciate it.
hematite magnets, what you can do is put them in your socks on either side of each ankle, like in the divot here, where it's gonna be soft and your shoes won't squash it.
Okay.
And it helps your magnetics just stay aligned so that you can feel really centered and focused through your day. So I'll bring 8 of them. We're gonna send them to Jessica's shoes too. We're gonna sneak them in there. And
We're gonna be more aligned now.
we're gonna be more aligned, and this city's gonna be hopping. Everybody's gonna be like, what's going on?
It's the magnet on the socks.
What's going on with economic development?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I heard they have rocks in their socks.
Yeah, exactly. That's the trick.
That's the trick. I love it. That's so good. Yeah, so it really, as a very small business owner, that was remarkable to me, having lived in other cities and shopped in other cities.
I'm happy to hear that.
Just really, really nice. So I appreciate you guys. Thanks for doing what you do.
Of course,
Thanks for coming in today. Anything else?
Do you have anything else?
I have nothing else.
You have nothing else?
I'm sure that I could probably, I'm tapped out, I think.
Alright. So a small business like me, I know Ryan, I asked you this when you came to visit initially, like, what can I do? And you said, get on the newsletter.
Yep.
So the newsletter comes out from the City of Independence, and that kind of kept me informed on Restaurant Week. And there were a couple other things, in case you missed out, there were 2 things at the bottom of that page.
Yeah, so one of them is obviously, we have an e-newsletter that goes out quarterly. We'd like to bring that out more frequently. Please follow us on our social media pages, which we have a LinkedIn, Twitter, which is Your Independence.
Your Indie OH.
I think I found that.
That's the Twitter.
What's the hashtag I'm using?
Indie Eats.
Indie Eats for the restaurant. But what about like, because I'll write Yoga Independence, Independence Yoga, like sometimes I'll write Independence, Ohio. What do you?
We haven't, so because we're going through a rebranding process, we have not come up with that yet.
Okay.
But we're gonna need a new,
I'll help you.
hashtag,
Yeah.
thanks.
How about like Indy loves rocks?
That's perfect.
It fits, because we do
Yeah.
love rocks, Rockside
You
Road,
do.
quarry
Rockside
history.
Road, the quarry is beautiful, and that's like a sneaky secret.
Yeah.
Like only the locals know that.
Don't
I'm
go
gonna zip
down
it. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
talk
don't
about
go
it.
down there.
I won't.
No,
It's just
no trespassing.
No trespassing. Not allowed it. No, there's a paved path.
The Hemlock
The
Trail?
Hemlock Trail.
Yes, that
that's
is beautiful,
Yes.
beautiful amenity. It's great if you go down, hard work when you're pushing a double
Listen,
wide straight.
I have an idea. So I'm gonna just give you a sneak peek. I'm just gonna give you like a sneak that I'm going in October to do a fall foliage
Okay,
hike in yoga. And we'll walk up, leave our mats on the big wide bridge. Does that wide bridge have a name?
it has a bridge number on it.
Okay, I'm just gonna call it the big wide bridge. 'Cause
Yeah.
when you get there, you're like, whoa, this bridge is wide.
Wide.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna leave our mats there, walk up the rest of the way. I think we're gonna have some refreshments at the top. And then hike back down, do some yoga and meditation, and then go down.
That's
That sounds
awesome.
nice.
And I'm tying it to a fundraiser, which is still a secret because the details aren't ironed out yet.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Keep us posted.
Yeah,
I will.
let us know.
Because that'll be really fun.
No, we love
And
that.
then we'll do that for donations, it could be for free. Because I love community.
That's awesome. We love to hear that.
Yeah, so partners, right?
Of
Awesome.
course, yeah.
Right? Stay in touch, stay in touch.
Of course.
Hey, mad respect for the city of Independence, the mayor, and these great initiatives and these beautiful people. And namaste to all of you. Thanks for listening.